Inasmuch as Mr. Truman's remarks were directed at me, I am taking this opportunity to respond to his statement. First, Mr. Truman suggested that I step aside as a candidate in 1960. In response, let me say, I do not intend to step aside at anyone's request.
Whether it will move in the direction of freedom, in the direction of the road that we are taking, or whether it will move in the direction of slavery, I think it will depend in great measure upon what we do here in the United States, on the kind of society that we build, on the kind of strength that we maintain. I should make it very clear that I do not think we're doing enough, that I am not satisfied as an American with the progress that we're making. This is a great country, but I think it could be a greater country. And this is a powerful country, but I think it could be a more powerful country. I'm not satisfied until every American enjoys his full constitutional rights. The kind of country we have here, the kind of society we have, the kind of strength we build in the United States will be the defense of freedom. If we do well here, if we meet our obligations, if we're moving ahead, then I think freedom will be secure around the world. If we fail, then freedom fails. I think we can do better. I don't want the talents of any American to go to waste. I know that there are those who say that we want to turn everything over to the government. I don't at all. I want the individuals to meet their responsibilities. And I want the states to meet their responsibilities. But I think there is also a national responsibility. If we are going to meet the responsibilities which time and events have placed upon us, we cannot turn the job over to anyone else. If the United States fails, then the whole cause of freedom fails. That is the obligation upon our generation. In 1933, Franklin Roosevelt said in his inaugural that this generation of Americans has a rendezvous with destiny. I think our generation of Americans has the same rendezvous. The question now is, can freedom be maintained under the most severe attack it has ever known? I think it can be. And I think in the final analysis it depends upon what we do here. I think it's time America started moving again.
I knew you'd find your way here, eventually.
Welcome, everyone, to the Bob Charles Show right here on www.kinetichifi.com radio. The Bob Charles Show International. Welcome, world. Today is going to be a show on Bob Charles Show that's going to be a little bit different, just a touch different than many, many shows that you hear here. What we're going to do is we're going to combine questions and answers to answers and questions all together. We're going to put our lives, what we do, where we go in our lives, and what and where we live, together with what it could be, what it's going to be, and what is better for us by following our spirit, our hearts, our self. May I introduce two people to you that are going to help me today. Jamie Clark is a worldwide psychic and medium, and Mike Williams, who is a past life regression master. Gentlemen.
Hello, Bob.
Hey, Bob. Hey, Bob, that beginning, that intro was very cool. Pretty ominous to follow it up with that dun, 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 dun. Oh, crap. That speaks for itself.
You know what? I'm telling you something. Though, if you were to play something like that and have somebody thinking about where we are right now, that is the music that you would play behind that thought. Yeah.
Well, more importantly was JFK's comments were very prophetic.
Yeah. Look at when he made them. 1960, that speech was done.
That was 1960 during the election, right?
Yeah.
He had a confrontation with Truman.
Exactly. So you're talking 1960, and now what is this now? Like 52 years ahead?
Yeah, right around there.
So,
Guys.
and we're not only that, we're not only in a situation that at that time was questionable, we are in a positive situation that we are in the situation. If we don't do something about it, we're dead.
You're exactly right, Bob. I don't know if we're dead, but we're on a short path. We don't have a lot of time to get things fixed up.
Yeah, theoretically, put it that way.
Yep.
Well, and I think that that's a big part. It's having us come together, unifying as a planetary consciousness, learning to live together. But we need to start with one country at a time. And I think that exactly like Mike is saying, is we all are taking our own responsibility for our lives. And it's not easy to do, but if we come together and unify that, we can change the entire planet and other things. We just need to get that ball moving.
Go ahead, Mike.
No, I was going to say, Jamie's absolutely correct. What we have to do is we have to have more and more of an awakening, because the powers, the dark forces that are in place today that are keeping control over humanity and oppressing it, they rely on the people and the masses to stay essentially controlled in their trance state and in their virtual reality. And as soon as humanity breaks out of that, then the control mechanism, the apparatus, collapses like a house of cards. People really have the power. They just do not understand it. And this is something that we have to work on. We have to get people to understand that they have the power to change the world and to bring change.
Yeah, and I just want to tell everybody that we do have a telephone number, and you can, if you'd like, you may call in with a comment or a question. See, either one, either Jamie Clark or Mike Williams. You can ask them both, even at the same time, a question. Now, the number is 843-606-1314. That's how you call this show. Now, if you're too chicken to call on the phone, get on the chat box. The chat box is there. It is live. If you're listening to us, you're looking at that box. Get your check in the mail. But on the other hand, get your chat in the box then, so I can see it here for crying out loud. But it's good stuff. Hey, listen, I got a question though coming right out of the box. We got something that I talked about to every single guest this week. Now you're going to turn around and say, Bob, you could talk to every single guest about the same thing. Well, you know what? These are issues that are on everybody's head, and we are in a direction right now where we're in a more what is deemed as spiritual direction. Now, if you want to define spiritual, it just, to me anyway, it just means the right direction. So I wouldn't say spiritual, it's just the right direction. We should be going in this direction. But some of the things we talked about was media, schools, careers, the society as we see it right now, and our own cultural conformity. Now, Mike had written that in a little blurb that they sent over to me, and he is so right. What about this? I mean, we talk about media all the time. We are on the media. We're on the radio right now, for crying out loud. And, hey, don't forget, people, call on the phone. You're on media, too. 843-606-1313. Mike, question, answer.
Well, the apparatus that's in place, Bob, the media, as you mentioned, it's all about control, right? So the media is all propaganda. It's all orchestrated. It's all engineered. It's there in order to shape your opinion, to shape your belief system, and have you actually engage in the reality being laid out for those who buy into that mind control mechanism. So we've got the schools, and the schools really, at the end of the day, are nothing more than indoctrination centers. And, we can take a look now, and we can see that, they're grabbing the children now as early as getting them into daycare and preschools. So the earlier they're able to get them, that's how much quicker they can shape their belief system and get the indoctrination embedded. So the whole thing is a matrix of control, and it's pervasive and it's all around us. And as I mentioned before, we've got to get people to understand that this is, what they're dealing with. And if they really want to be free and they really want to have the life and the existence that they were intended to have here on Earth, they've got to start figuring this stuff out.
Yeah, and everybody raise your hand if you're watching TV right now. Well, yeah, okay, there's 1, 2, 3.
Whoop, whoop.
Yeah, but the idea of this thing is pretty crazy, really. And what you just said, Mike, is not only correct; it's 100% and 110% actually correct. What we're talking about here too, and that you talked about the kids in that school that are just, I mean, they're brainwashed from day one when they're in preschool. We have these other schools that are open up around, like for instance, about a month ago, and I had a 12. Well, he wasn't 12 now; he's 20 now, but. When he was 12 years old, he was already a PhD, and he was already studying and doing papers in quantum physics.
Wow.
Now, this is a society we can have if we do what I say on every single one of my shows. Just say no. When somebody turns around and says, you have to do this, take the word have and make it, like a smack in the head. What do you mean? I got to smack you in the head. Okay, well, you don't have to smack me in the head anymore because I have my own head, my own mind, my own thoughts, and my own direction, so this is where I'm going, and if you don't like it, too bad. So you can say no. For instance, if you have to put your kids in school, the law says they need an education equal to. So you have to get a diploma, or you have to go to the other schools that are available at that time, and have to get your high school diploma. But you need X amount of work into it to get that piece of paper in that state. But the state does not mandate that if you do not go to 1 to 8 or 4 to 12 in their school, you're not going to get it. They don't say that.
Bob, I think that's a really good point that you and Mike are bringing up, and that is with the children being, given that information at a young age. However, I think that there are also a little bit of ways around it for at least some of them. I have 2 amazing young men of my own, and they're very much aware of, the public and what's being taught and all that, and they're very good at school. But also they get my little perspective in a way that isn't quite like the mainstream. So if I'm able to nourish their soul and their mind a little bit with some different information, not better or worse, just different, as they're growing up, they're now realizing, because this is who I've always been, but they're like, well, you ain't so weird now, Dad. I guess you might have been a little more aware than I thought. And so now they're getting a balance from, what I've shared in my perspective and what they're experiencing through the public aspect are vastly 2 different dynamics. And exactly like Mike was saying with the matrix of bondage, we're now having the opportunity to connect with the matrix of freedom.
What about, you're about 2 hours net behind us. So in your area, Net, there are people who do self or home schooling.
A lot more that I've noticed, at least in Arizona. I'm not sure about other places, but yeah, a lot of neighbors around the area, children all the time. Now, here's the interesting thing, because, like I do, Big Brother's always watching. But I'm curious to see if they're taking it more of the internet, because, not only is it with grade schools and stuff, it's with colleges. Hey, you can take online courses. Right. Every click, everything, anything you're doing, they've got a record of.
Oh yeah. And now how about it, Mike? Now you're the expert in that direction.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they're monitoring everything. It's really, sometimes it's a little disheartening when Snowden came out and he revealed the inner workings of the NSA and that they were watching everything. They were tapping your phone lines, or tapping your texts, your emails, your internet activity, everything. I don't see the uprising. I don't see the people standing up and saying, we're not going to take this, that this is not right. And most people, very apathetic, they just roll over and they go about their life, whatever constitutes their life. And that's exactly what the system is looking to have. That's the behavior they're looking for. They're looking for people to be apathetic. They're looking for them to roll over. Now, Jamie, he's doing good things with his children, and he's giving them that alternative perspective, and he's keeping that balance, right, so that they don't buy into the whole 9 yards, hook, line, and sinker. And that's excellent. I do the same thing with my daughter. Now, my daughter's older now, so she sees things from a different lens, a healthy lens. But there are so many adults out there that are not doing that. And many times they can't do it because both mother and father are working 60 hours a week. That pushes the kids into daycare, into aftercare schooling. So what's happened is, they've kind of fractured the family. It's an intentional agenda item to take the family and break it down and break it up so that the mother and father do not have that influence, so that they can't teach them their morals, they can't teach them a perspective on right and wrong and so on. And that's what I struggle with sometimes. That when I talked earlier about the awakening, we've got to get more people doing the things that Jamie's doing with his kids. And when that happens, then they'll start to see this whole beast, this mechanism that's all around us, this controlling entity, and take a look at it and understand it has to be dismantled, because if it's not, what's down the road for humanity is not going to be a good thing.
Yeah, not only that, but it's not going to be completed either. Now, what do I mean by completed? Well, it's easy. We have a bunch of adults that are, I don't know what you would call it. They're so in the dark. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, they couldn't tell. Like, Jamie does it, I do it, you do it, Mike. We tell our kids and we try to direct our kids, based on what we know and what we know of history in the last, say, 50 years. So, I mean, out of that, we can kind of sort of steer them. But there's too many adults out there that have no clue. That's why I always try to aim them over into radio and get them off TV. I mean, they can tell you, this is what really, really drives me nuts. They can tell you the shoe size of a quarterback, say, on the Giants. But if you ask them what's going on in the Congress, they're going to say a bunch of guys in there voting.
Or ask them the shoe size of their own kid, they won't know.
Well, that's you're one step ahead of me. But I'm serious. I mean, and this is going on right now, and it's like it's getting distressing. When before the last election, big election, I told everyone, before you vote on anybody, read, do your research, go to, and I mean everybody in here anyway that remembers me saying it a couple of times for a couple of weeks. And I kept saying it over and over again. I figured maybe I'd get through to somebody's head, and maybe somebody would do whatever they have to do to find out like what's going on. I said, take history and make history reflect. If history reflects, if somebody screwed up the first time around, you're not going to give them a second chance. And what happened? Everybody opened the doors and said, "Come on in." I mean, this was a Dracula movie. Like they say in that Dracula movies, and that unless you're invited in, that you can't come in. But I mean, people don't get it. Once you open up the door and you let Dracula in, you're going to get bit. And we did. And we're paying for it. And we're going to pay for it. Obamacare, I'll let you guys play with that one because I'm not even going to go near that one kind of sort of.
That sums it up. My God. But I think like that we're doing this. We're doing it now from the inside out. They're trying to take us outside of the families. Watch this. We're going to start with our own families, our own selves, and then expand out because that's that rippling effect. With a little knowledge that I'm able to share with my boys, in their own loving, respectful way, some of the things that they might talk about with their friends, they actually get a good response like, "Oh, that's interesting. I haven't thought about that." And my boys are 17 and 12, both going on 30. Like, I'm the parent, you're the child. But these kids are so advanced. If we can give them the tools to create this whole new paradigm, a whole new way of thinking, that's the first connection. That's the first step. Thought first, physical manifestation second, and on and on and on. But people like us, and Bob, you're doing such an amazing job giving a platform to a majority of this planet to at least have something to think about, something that's being communicated, and shifting from that, all right, hey, if you want to watch the TV, great. If you want to watch this, fine. But I think it's about watching and becoming aware of our own selves with the true power that we really do have. And, you and Mike know, they're going to lop your head off. That's why people tend to keep their heads down going, well, I don't want to have that happen to me. So, boom, 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 boom. And they'll just kind of, keep going.
Oh,
and it's scary. It is scary for a lot of people to, take that first step of more empowerment and to lessen that grip on the fear.
Taking something from your list, though, manifesting your reality. We're talking about that.
Yes, sir.
You either make it what it is or you don't.
Yeah, or what it isn't, and you're going to give it, it'll be given to you just the same. There is no good and bad to the big guy, to the unified field, matrix, whatever you want to call it. It is unconditionally loving and compassionate. That's why it doesn't register negatives like our brain doesn't. Challenge is most of us approach life with the right intent, but we end up approaching it with, I know what I don't want, and I really don't want this, and I sure hope it doesn't happen. And so guess what a lot of you you'll keep getting a lot of what you don't want. So it sounds like semantics, but Mike, and it's the way you approach life. It approaches you. You have doubt and uncertainty, it'll hit you.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Mike, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that Jamie's exactly right. If people realize that they can actually manifest their reality, that their thoughts create their reality, and if they have their thoughts in the right place, and it's not just about thoughts. Also, I should add that you have to have intention and you have to make it kinetic. In other words, you have to be a participant in your life. You can't be a spectator. And so what we have today is we have a lot of people that have become spectators, and they're allowing the controlling mechanism, the matrix, to create and manifest a reality for them. So when people sit down for hours on end and they sit in front of the TV set, or they're not eating right, or whatever it may be, then what's happening is they are creating and manifesting the reality that they are focused on. They've put their intentions in that place. And so because they've done that, that's what they're going to realize. That's what their life is going to be about. But as soon as people unplug from that, and they realize that they can unplug from that, and they can make change, they're going to be in such a better place. But the key is to get people to understand that they can do that. Many people do not believe they can do that. They feel disempowered, and they have to understand that they are empowered beings, and they can make change in their life, and they can have a good life, but they have to have their intentions in the right place.
Oh, yes, they do. Right, Dame?
Yes, sir.
I felt
Perfectly said, Mike.
Yeah. Now, there was another one that was on here that said fear tactics, which also wraps right into what we're talking about. Through fear tactics and the way that's actually thrown at us, and that we make wrong decisions.
Fear is their biggest lever, Bob. Fear is what suppresses the soul. So, the one thing I tell folks is that whatever you want to call them, the Matrix, the dark forces, the Cabal, whatever, they have mastered the manipulation of consciousness. They understand how to do that. And they work at it 24/7. They never stop. They never sleep. Because it's all about control at the end of the day for them. They have all the money in the world. It's not money. It's all about control. And a big, big mechanism, the key is fear. So if they can constantly barrage you with war and terror and shootings and hate and divisiveness, if they constantly bombard people with that, and if they keep doing that, then people are going to cower down, and they're going to hunker down, and they're going to believe this is actually the world that we live in. It's not the world that we live in. It's the world that they're creating for you because you've bought into their tactics.
I think that's perfect. Not only that, the symbology of what we're doing. Remember the good old days when people didn't lock their doors? They had that open receptivity. They had that relaxed, trusting, more faithful connection in their fellow man and woman, in more loving. So it went from open doors to exactly like Mike is saying, and that is fear is the opposite of love. And so nowadays there's been so much shared in such a challenging way that now everyone locks the doors. Hey, I'm not going to let you outside. Hey, so they've sequestered themselves in, and it's kind of like that's exactly what they're trying to do, is encapsulate you in a way. And not only that, but I feel in spirituality that has happened as well. All of the shows and all of that, and it's great entertainment, but you get enough of the negative and the things like that, then it starts going, ooh, that psychic stuff's like a bunch of booga, and so wow. And then, in that way, because that fear is constrictive, not empowering in a sense, but then they shut down their own intuitive abilities. So now they've doubly shut down, and now they feel helpless. Now they're vibrating at that dynamic. And I agree with Mike. Mike, the way that you approach that is exactly right. With the intent, I always share with people, treat where your thoughts go. Treat your attention like a precious commodity, because wherever your thoughts are going, energies are flowing, and it does not question. It will give you that which you do or do not want and love you just the same.
Yeah, well, let me just jump in here for 2 seconds. Jamie, to get to that situation now where we're going to start accepting all these things, now, how do we get there?
By, I think, the self-realization of what works for you, what nourishes your soul, what can you be comfortable enough to maybe just take one little step at a time, one little nibble, whatever might work. But that's the thing is, a lot of us have been fine-tuned to go, this is the only way, and it's, that's perfect. If it works for you, that's beautiful. But there's such a wide variety of awareness that more people are tapping into more channels, more opportunities to find and discover themselves. And as we're empowering ourselves and becoming more of the loving energy, not so much of the fear energy, people's abilities will amplify. And what's really cool is, just by being around people, it is always an energy exchange. We are always co-creating realities, not manipulation, co-creation. But I'll have a lot of times where guests or clients of seminars that I present, come up to me afterwards going, man, when you were doing it, I was amplified and I was getting this information. I'm like, freaking A, good, because that's exactly what you have, and it is so natural. It's supernatural.
Yeah.
Just what we don't understand, we tend to fear. So I think, like you, Mike, and myself, is let me just give you something to think about, just a different perspective, not better or worse, but different. That freedom of choice is empowering in itself.
Hey, we got some messages coming on the chat box that says, hey, man, you can get the online course from MIT now. It's like, hey, I'm going to get a course. God dang it. Yeah, and the NSA has been looking at everything and controlling from before 1960. This is a really long time, it says. And then there's links all over the chat box.
Wow.
It says NSA mind control and psyops. Then it says Obamacare is Obama scare. Fall down. Now this is coming from out of the country to here. Obamacare is Obama scare. The downfall of the USA health system. How many GP doctors been made unemployed?
Yep.
Now these are people with opinions and they don't live here. This is how the rest of the world sees us. Not good.
Right. I mean, the United States and the world, for that matter, Bob, are in a state of disrepair. And as I mentioned in one of the previous shows, there's three things that the United States presents a problem to the New World Order. It's too wealthy, has too much freedom, and it has guns. Right? Those three things really get in the way of anybody who wants to take control and pull your sovereignty away from you. So what we're seeing right now is the intentional breakdown and dismemberment of the Republic of the United States, breaking down freedoms, going after your ability to defend yourself. And, of course, we're all seeing this, right? The wholesale extraction of wealth out of this country. And so essentially what they're doing is they're trying to flatten it, and so that nobody has an upper hand, and they can therefore step in and take control. But they can't take control as long as the wealth and, like I said, the guns and the freedom is there. They can't do it. And that's why today we're seeing it. It's really in our face now. The agenda of control is front and center. And this is what's waking a lot of people up. Because I would always tell folks, you will get it when it rolls up on your doorstep. Because I've been talking about this for years, and many people would just laugh. I was a tinfoil hat wearer, I was this, I was that, it was crazy, it was kooky, And I said, you just wait. You wait. Your wake-up time will be when an issue rolls up on your doorstep that affects you directly, and people are seeing that. And quite honestly, I mean, one of the big issues that has done that has been Obamacare. And in an interesting way, it has become massive non-compliance when you think about it. Here they put this thing out there, it didn't work, and because it didn't work, people paid absolutely no attention to it. So I take a look at that and I think to myself, that's kind of an interesting result of what happened with Obamacare. It became mass non-compliance.
Right.
And what have they been able to do about it? Nothing. Right? So if we had more mass non-compliance to those things which were restricting our freedoms and our sovereignty, then we would have better results. We would have the type of results we're seeing right now where they're on the run because, this thing's not working, and it's a main control mechanism which they need to have work in order to manage and control your health care.
Yeah, there's the other part of it too. With Obamacare is a law now. And I've never, ever in my life ever heard of having to get an insurance policy that was a law. Since when did the law hold something over my head and say, if you don't get this insurance policy, we will drop this rock? It's crazy, but it's absolutely true, because when they drop the rock, you're going to be injured. Now, what happens, and what do I mean by that? All right, let's be symbolistic, okay? Symbolistic meaning that they're going to drop the rock, you're going to get hurt. Obamacare is the rock. You are you, okay? When they drop the rock, the injury is to two places. Number one, your family. Number two, your pocket. Because every single dime that you make, first of all, if you don't get insurance, they're going to fine you. The IRS is going to fine you. which
Right.
they call the government. But the IRS is not government. It's private industry.
Wow.
So how can private industry have the right over me? The government that we voted in there, okay, they can make their own laws and do whatever we want to, and I have the right to vote in or vote out whoever I want to, and even impeach if I want to. All of these things are let's face it, we do have, different rights, and they're ours to a degree now. But when you go to the other side of that, you have no rights. They take them away from you. Because now, if you don't do what they tell you to do, somebody like private industry that has no hold over you whatsoever, that you could actually literally put out of business, they have you by the toes.
And you're hanging all right, definitely.
The whole studio here that has got their hands up in the air with the thumbs up.
Gonna get a whoop, whoop. I think that's a really big thing now, is because they've kind of, to a certain extent, put us in our own little reality that the average person tends to think, well, what's one person going to change? So no, so I'm going to sit on the, the wayside here, and I'll just see where things go. And it's certainly understandable, but that kind of a little bit of fear factor really inhibits the connection and the reconnection of our consciousness. Because it's that type that, if people don't think that they can make a difference, they're not going to act on it. So it's the others that, okay, well, I respect that, I understand that, but, we've got to come together as a country, as the people. Because it used to be of the people and for the people, and now it's of the government and for the government, and we've gone from the people to consumers. That's how they refer to us as. It's like, wow, everything's about give and take in that way. It's all an energy pole. And we're getting even better.
That's a good point, Jamie. Consumerism, Bob, and when you're at work, you're a human resource.
Right.
You're not a human being. You're a human resource, or you're an asset.
Yep.
So what they've done is they've dehumanized humanity, and they have created a situation where people have given up, like I said before, their sovereignty and their liberty, and they've done it because of the ignorance that permeates society. The folks out there, the masses, have to understand, in this country, the government is a trustee. They are supposed to be taking care of business on behalf of, as Jamie said before, on behalf of the people. But what's happened is the trustee is now running the show. They now believe they have total dominion over everybody. They're in a capacity of being an overlord, and that's because we have allowed them to have that power.
All right.
That's what it comes down to at the end of the day.
We have a comment from right here in the studio, believe it or not, and Boyd, my producer and the owner of the station, has a comment.
I was actually just going to agree with all of y'all, especially what y'all were just saying about consumerism, because we used to be a proactive people going out there and getting it, and we used to shape the market, but now the market shapes us only because we're so predictable, and we've been made so predictable. We've been fashioned as these predictable beings so that the market can predict where we'll go and, of course, profit easier in a more easy fashion. And so, I mean, I don't get mad at us anymore because, quite frankly, I don't think people understand. They don't know better. It's not like sitting there, intentionally being ignorant. That's not the case. They just simply don't know any better, and they live their lives, one impulse, one instigating action to the next, but they don't live on purpose. If that makes any sense.
I think, Mike, one time you
Huge.
and I said something about that, the population getting dumbed down.
Yes, dumbed down. Yeah, and when I said the word ignorant, I didn't mean that in a derogatory way. What I mean is they don't understand. They don't understand what this country's about. They don't understand the Constitution. They don't understand the Bill of Rights. They don't understand a whole lot. And a big piece of it is because from the day that you're born into deception, and you're born into lies. And the control starts as the first day that you're born. And so my point is that at some point, though, we've got to understand who we are. We are spiritual beings. We didn't come here to be incarcerated. We didn't come here to live on a prison planet. We came here to thrive. And in order to do that, we have to start waking up to what's going on around us. You have to realize that there's control mechanisms all over the place. And you're right, Boyd. I mean, what they're doing is they are shaping consumerism, and they do it through manipulation through the media. I mean, that's a big piece of what the media is all about, because the system that's in place today is a system of commerce. You have to pay to live. Mm-hmm. If you can't rent, you live in the streets. If you can't buy health insurance, you'll get sick and die. If you can't buy food, you won't eat. And so we have to take a step back. And there's a lot of people that say, well, that's just the way it is, Mike, so I don't really understand what your point is. You got to go to work, yes. But what I'm saying is the system is so overboard now that the difference between the haves and the have-nots, that chasm is gigantic now. And if we don't start stepping up to the plate, we are going to have a country that's going to be in absolute abject destitution within 10 years, because there are no more pension plans. 401ks are in the tank. Many of them died with the 2008 crash, and many haven't recovered. So we're faced with this type of situation now, and people are so heads down. They're so focused on survival. How am I going to survive today? How am I going to feed my kids? Will I get laid off? Will my house be foreclosed on? And this is part of the whole fear mechanism we spoke about before that's in place to keep people in that state of fear. And a big piece of that, again, is the debt. So that's what I was talking about before when I was talking about the ignorance aspect of it.
Mike, that was beautifully said, and I agree with you and Boyd in a way that over these years they've shifted us, and we've, gone with it to a certain extent, from living life to surviving life.
Yes.
Now you're at a vibrational, erratic fear energy. Now you're more open to go, well, this really stinks, so maybe there's something else that I could do. So I agree with that. They are very smooth. They have a lot of patience because it's a long time they've been putting this in, but it's been that type of a fear tactic that when people get into that mode, they tend to separate themselves more so than unite themselves. And that's exactly what's happening. So with this and with the knowledge, I think that we are coming to realize that we can work together, that we can learn from each other, that we can unite, and that we can change this planet, but it has to come with a mass consciousness, that tipping point, that 51%. That's the key to success, is love and compassion. And I think a lot of us have that. We're just finally realizing and giving it to ourselves again.
Somebody the other day in that wrote on one of the chat boxes in that what's going on is us as consumers, going back to what Mike had said, are actually part of the government's used car lot. As funny as that sounds, when I saw it on the chat box, I'm saying, yeah, they're right. I'm serious.
Gonna drive an old beater around, man. Hey, at least I got transpo.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm serious. It's like if you go on any one of those lots, the first thing the guy says, "I got a deal for you." Well, that's the government. They got a deal for everything.
Well, they have to keep the system of commerce going, right? I mean, and everything is about taxing you. So when you're not being taxed, you're being asked to spend.
Right.
So, right, and that's part of the survival mode that most people are in. So, they're taxing you, they're taking your money, and then whatever money you have left, you have to try to live on. And by the way, well, even trying to live and having whatever discretionary income you have, they're going to go after that too.
Boyd is stepping in the room again.
If the marketplace were a true reflection of demand, then it would be a different story. But it's not. It's a manipulated demand. It's a demand that was given to us that we simply kick back into the system. And so, we can't blame people, and you can't blame the system, the system itself. I mean, the fact that there is an economy and that the wealth is transacted. I mean, that's not the problem, because those things don't contain the ideas necessary to manipulate. It's the advertising. It's certainly the government. It's politics. But a lot of people get the wrong idea and they fault the system. They say, well, it's capitalism, and I refuse to buy into that. I do. If it were a true reflection of people's real, honest demand, it wouldn't be a problem. But it's just not the case.
Let me go back to the toes for 2 seconds.
Okay. Please make it to toes.
Does that mean that nobody has the toes to do what they're supposed to do?
No. That what it means is the one thing people want to do more than anything, the thing that drives us more than anything is the need to belong, the need to be liked, the need to be loved. And so, if we perceive that our going against the grain is going to inhibit are being loved by society or by our friends or by family, if it's going to get in the way of that, then we're not going to do it. And so we're sold this idea that, hey, everybody likes this. Hey, everybody wants this. And you don't want to be the one guy that's standing, outside of that circle. And most people don't. Most people don't have the cojones, don't have the toes, as you'll say, to step outside of the circle. I just,
I know that Mike and Jamie can both fight this one out, but does that mean that you're a better guy because you have more money, better gold around your neck? I mean, what does that mean to one person? I mean, we're talking about, or at least I am, about getting everyone to agree with each other, talk to each other, communicate with each other.
Right, but the first step in making that happen is for most people it's being acceptable. I mean, that's it. Most people are not okay with thinking apart from the group. They're just not.
Well, that's groupthink, right? And that's part of the manipulation and the mind control.
Yes, of course. Yes.
Right.
But on the other hand,
but it's who we are as animals, and I think that's something that people have to, we can't deny. There's the animal self and the spiritual self. I mean, if you're asking me, and we have to be honest with ourselves as animals, we do these things, and we have to be. Our thoughts need to be such that we can preempt those animal actions.
And there's something that just came on the chat box in there too a couple seconds ago. It's U.S. controls what type of health care you get, but what she's also saying here too is they also tell you when you can enroll and when you cannot enroll. Whereas we used to be able to get insurance whenever we wanted to. Why does somebody have to tell us when?
Because we have overlords.
Right.
Because,
exactly.
right.
Exactly.
Exactly.
That's it.
Yeah.
Jamie, what do you think?
And they've got us on a timetable. They're not going to let that slip. Are you kidding me?
No.
Push. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be that one standing out on my own, exactly like Boyd was saying. But that also goes for the spiritual avenue. Everything's spiritual, but not a lot of people might be willing to find their own reality within that. And, for doing what I do, everyone's a psychic medium. Everyone can do it. But, sometimes it can be a little lonely, like, does anyone else feeling this kind of stuff? Because, man. So it allowed me to start to understand and accept fully me, who I am, and doing the best that I can, living my life. And if maybe in just my own way I can even touch one person's life to help themselves and empower them, it's a rippling effect. And I think that that's what we're doing is not intrusive. It's always about love. But if we can share some information, give the people some things to think about, possibly that might unify that consciousness to go, well, there is power in numbers. And the more that we do that, it does not have to be that, we're going to crush and murder everyone. Let's go beyond that to the solution. So many of us try to approach the problem to change it. And what you don't realize is by focusing on the problem, you're intensifying the problem. It's like, God, why isn't it changing? And it doesn't mean you're ignorant and not paying attention, nothing like that. You're very much aware of the challenge of whatever it is, but going beyond that to put a new vibrational pattern, a new frequency of that reality that you want it to be. And I think that that's the big key is being able to allow yourself to focus more on what you want things to be, not what you don't want. That's that tie into the fear is every day, every moment. A lot of us are going, yeah, but I don't want to stand out like that, and I don't want to be alone. Just like what Boyd was saying is you want to be loved, you want to be accepted. However, in this way, it will be, but it's also allowing you to first love and accept yourself. Then you have more fullness of the soul that others can recognize.
The other thing that you and Jamie were talking offline, and that Jamie brought up actually a good point that he kind of sort of handed you, Mike,
about the technologies, the surveillance technologies.
Oh yeah, because you know what? I heard that some of those cameras, and I think Jamie hit on a good spot, because let's face it, they could. I mean, those crazy little helicopters, that can fly anywhere.
Drones.
Yeah, I made a joke about one of those the other day, because you can literally, with those things, they can go through people's backyards. They can go, and look around any place in any spot. And I said, you mean to tell me when I'm taking a shower in the bathroom, something is going to be outside my window, bopping up and down, going, oh wow, he's taking a shower today. But you know what? As stupid as that sounds, it's not stupid. This is the kind of eyes that we're under by a government that is supposed to guarantee us freedom. Well, freedom is get your eyes out of my toes, quote unquote, because of the plain fact that, hey, this is a free society, or at least it was. Now We got new cell phones, and I think you, Mike, Jamie, you've probably seen them on the market. They got a front and a back camera. Either one of those cameras are now hackable when the phone is off.
Everything has a backdoor, Bob.
And a
everything that they're
microphone.
selling today has a backdoor. Everything.
Yeah, so they can turn on the speaker, they can turn on the cameras, they can turn on the laptop in your house.
Yes.
So I mean, oops, all you have to be is connected to any line, any cable, anything that's got an IP address on it, and they go in through the back door of whatever that IP address is, and they got you. So they can watch you in your house now while you're having dinner.
Well, I got to give it to them. They've been really good at it. They've gotten us so dependent on the technological aspect, we can't seemingly do without it.
Yeah, but they've given us a tool to help them.
Yeah, but it also can be helping ourselves. So I think it's, can we pick and choose from that dynamic that, no, here's the overall presentation, but we can go beyond that. And yeah, the drones are, it's like, oh, those are cute. Oh, there's so much more beyond that. Are you kidding me? They can see through houses. They can, it's amazing. And what little I'm aware of, because there are a lot of clients that I have that work in capacities, shall I say, that in ways are privy to some of this.
I still think that the bigger companies or any company that sells a laptop and that should have a little thing like printed right in the plastic above the screen, closed when not in use.
Yep, they'd shut them down pretty quick. Like, yeah, sales dropped. What?
Yeah, well, it wouldn't be sales. I mean, it'd be the government looking in your back door.
Exactly.
I mean, that either way you want to take it.
Well, and I think, Bob, that's the thing, and Mike, it's not to really scare people. We just want to inform you of the potential, just the potential of what can happen. Because people think that, well, no way, the computer has to be on, and I need to see the screen. There's going to be a light on it, and if the camera's on the phone or the whatever, then you're going to see it. Not really.
Yeah, there's also a message coming up from Australia that also says that the LED smart TVs can now look at you while you're watching the TV.
Not only that, what about the phones with the thumbprints, fingerprints?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, one of the biggest hitters as far as the blog goes is an article that my brother and I put up. It was entitled 32 Privacy Destroying Technologies that are Transforming America into a Giant Prison. So some of the stuff that you guys mentioned is surveillance technology that's out there today. See, a lot of people believe that this is science fiction. It's something that's going to be in the future. And that's where they're wrong. It's there today. I mean, we just mentioned spying on us through our televisions. That was LG that is making those TVs, right? And we have advanced facial recognition technology. We have pre-crime surveillance cameras. We have software that is going to store and analyze our voices, devices that capture your fingerprints from 20 feet away. In airports, they now want to use molecular scanners that secretly scan you from 164 feet away. Ooh. So, I mean, it's an amazing array of surveillance, and you have to tip your hat to them, because even if you try to dodge one type of surveillance or one type of technology, as we mentioned in the last show, well, if we just decide to throw our cell phone away,
right,
that's not going to mean anything, because they have such a barrage and such an array of surveillance and technology that is essentially turning the country and the world into a prison planet. And Jamie was saying before, we don't want to scare people, and it's not scare tactics. This is reality. This is what's going on. And if you don't understand what's going on, and if you don't understand what's broken, then you're never going to figure out how to fix it. And nobody escapes from this. That's the thing, So we have to get that critical mass going with regard to the awakening, so that we can turn the tables, and we can, as I mentioned before, we can be here and thrive versus being shackled.
We were talking about this last week. If you want to not, have somebody know where you are or see you or hear you or anything, then you have to buy one of those throwaway phones. And the only thing that they can find you with one of those phones is which tower you're near. They got you within maybe 500 feet or 1,000 feet.
But the problem, Bob, is, if you're in your car, they have black boxes in cars now. I think it was starting after 2005. You have that. You have... if you're going to sit in front of your computer, even if you throw your phone away, like I said, there's so many different vehicles and technologies that they have out there, it's very difficult to be able to escape it. If you're doing any kind of transacting on the web, they're watching that. Your Facebook account is nothing more than a gigantic database to aggregate and group, who you like, who you're with, who do you spend your time with. It's just unbelievable. Massive police state.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you don't really think that they're aware of every click that you do on that computer, check out past history or most viewed, and you'll see everything that you've ever clicked on in that way. That's how easy it is.
Now, while we're on that subject, let's go across the pond to something that's ruling our lives more than we know, or that we want to know. And not only that, too, but what you had said, Mike, about people, knowing about the technology that's out there and the things that are on there. If they were listening to a show like this or other shows like this, they would know.
Yes,
but they
would.
don't. So that's why we're trying to get them to do that. Because we tell everybody out there, and it's on my blog, too, anybody you know, I even put it on some of my clickovers, and that pass this on to anyone you know. Because if people keep passing things around, you're going to hit enough people that are going to go, gee, you know what, I'd like to know about that. Bam. So you got one. That person's going to tell somebody else. Bam. They're going to tell somebody else. Bam. And it just keeps going and going and going. It's like, did you guys ever see and I'm sure everybody listening and has seen this, you got 1 million ping-pong balls in a big glass box, and they're all sitting on mouse traps. And one guy drops one ball in the top. And then all of a sudden 1 million balls go off at the same time. Kinetic energy, I think. And when they do that, they are setting this thing off. And that's what we're trying to do with this show. And we're trying to tell people at the same time, hey, listen, you don't have to wake up today, but it's nice that I got one eye open. I mean, I'll buy that. How about you, James?
I agree. And I think that over the years I've shifted from believing in all this stuff to knowing. There's a big difference.
Oh, yeah.
And within that, these children, like that child, man, from the mouths of babes will the truth flow. That's the kind of connection that we want more of, is the youth that can set this parameter from the old paradigm to the new one of empowerment through the realization of the potential that there is life. And there's so much life that we're seeded from other planets. This is just a living library. It's an experiment in a good way, a very, soul-expressing way. But also there's those parameters that most of us do not want to go beyond because of that. And, I think that I heard something, someone pretty popular, the Pope, maybe, who was...
I was getting to that.
Yeah, who was sharing some insight. And for that person with that kind of power, seemingly, for him to say that is like, what? Because I think the big point is this is a huge shift. That's why they're not making the mass appearance, is because when they do and people fully recognize that there is life from other planets and all that good stuff, well, what about religion? Boom, there is going to be a crazy reaction.
Well, you're going to get a bunch of people that are going to go back to the Indians.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're going to do. And, I mean, we've been telling them to go back to the Indians for years. But nobody listens. But they will. What I was going to say was that the Vatican is, and this is, again, from Mike's list, the Vatican is not spirituality. The other thing that it is not is it is not a bank, but it's the world's biggest bank.
Yep.
It's a sovereign city-state. The Vatican has nothing to do with Rome. It has nothing to do with Italy. It's a sovereign city-state.
Right.
Right? It's one of the three legs of the stool, if you will. You have the Vatican, which is controlling the quote-unquote spirituality aspects across the world. You've got the inner city of London, which is the headquarters controlling all the financials going on across the world. And then you have Washington, D.C., all of which, by the way, are sovereign city-states. The District of Columbia has nothing to do with the Republic of the United States. It's sovereign. And that's the military arm. So you have to have those three things to really be able to put the boot down to control humanity. You've got the military, you've got the so-called spiritual aspect of it, which is not spirituality, and then you've got the system of commerce, which is headquartered and engineered out of the inner city of London.
And while we're talking about that, what spiritual value do we get from the Vatican? See,
I think it is beautiful no matter what religion, what direction. Any road to God's a good road. However, I think that what if that's just a potential to go, no, that's certainly very valid for your perspective, but I hear that, but I think that I'm growing into my own spirituality. And exactly like Mike is saying, I think people are becoming more aware of some of the dynamics that are around, in this case, the Vatican and other ways, to see that complete separateness within, everything else around it, and dictating with so much power, it's not even funny. But it's about spiritual growth. It's about us being able to realize and integrate and then empower ourselves and others, coming together. The big guy is that who will make you do nothing and allow you to do anything. It's always unconditional love.
Mike, were you going to say something?
No, I was just going to say, I don't really have a lot of use for the Vatican because it is a control mechanism. It teaches that you need a middleman in order to have your connectedness to spirit, to the divine. And, of course, you don't need that at all. So it's all manipulation, and it's to keep people in a box so that they really cannot experience who they truly are as divine, energetic, spiritual beings. So what they want to do is they want to put a person in place that's going to tell you, this is how it works, and you got to read this book and say this many prayers and so on and so forth. And, this gets people boxed in. This gets people oppressed, and it keeps them shackled, and it keeps them from experiencing who they truly are. And that's the problem I have with it, aside from the fact that it is probably one of the wealthiest entities, governments on the planet, and they have a death grip on their gold and their money, and they keep asking everybody else to sacrifice and to do this and to do that and take care of the poor. But I don't see the Vatican doing that.
Mike, can I quote you?
You sure can.
Yeah, well, the quote that you had made was, the Vatican, the Pope and whatever else wash feet, but they can't put shoes on those feet.
Right, and that's the paradox.
What does that say about the religion that teaches you to give?
It's not giving.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good.
Right. So I know a lot of folks listening to this, look, first of all, let me just say I was born and raised a Roman Catholic, so I understand it and I get it. But what happened, as I progressed through my life, I started taking a step back and assessing what was going on there. I'm like, well, this doesn't seem right to me. And then as I got older and I started piecing it, more and more together, sooner or later, if you focus on it, you will figure it out.
The Bible was good, and there was a Monsignor that was the head of our school and everything, and I was an altar boy till I was almost 17, and we said Mass in Latin, and I actually had to teach younger kids how to, say the Mass in Latin, so I got a better understanding about it from the Bible and what the Bible really meant. So, it was something that kind of sort of will always, till I die, live inside of me. But it wasn't until I was in college till I turned around and said, it's not a Bible, it's a history book, and based on opinions and all this kind of stuff. You don't get that realization until you get further in your life. And then all of a sudden, just like Mike just said, then you start taking a step back and saying, wait a minute, what about this?
Well, and I think that's a big thing. They keep you looking on the outside for fulfillment, when the more inside we go, the more it will reflect on the outside.
Oh, yeah. And everybody and your brother, let's face it, come on. Well, you should be there too, Mike. This is like the Bible Belt. You know what I mean? It's like everybody, goes to Bible studies and that and the whole 9 yards and everything like that. And let me tell you something. I respect every single one of those persons, and I don't care whether I got bad emails or not. But I respect every single one of them because they are at least trying to put themselves out there and learn something more than what they hear on TV and everything else. So that's okay with me. The part that really rubs me the wrong way is everybody says it differently. There is not one word. There is nothing. There is like one person that discusses something with a bunch of people, and then those people don't discuss it with each other. Wouldn't it be funny if everybody discussed it with each other and came up with their own opinion? That would be pretty good. That's what we want them to do when it comes to their own government, where they live, the state they live in, the government they live on, and the planet they happen to be sitting their butts on.
You know what I'd love to see? I'd love to see you play your guitar and intro the Pope.
I did when they were at when the Pope was at the other Pope was at Giant Stadium, and I was right behind the stage, right behind him.
Oh, how cool!
Yeah, I was working for a communication company, and the lines that were running on the ground that were right behind the Pope, and there were our lines, and somebody had to be standing there to make sure nobody fell over them.
Isn't that funny? You went from behind the scenes to in front.
Yeah, Nick's Pope, and then I'll just go up to him and say, "Hey, 5."
Bob, on your point though about talking about religion, it's always a slippery slope. So I second what you had mentioned before. Is we're not trying to disparage anybody's belief system. What we're saying, at least what I'm trying to say, is take a closer look at it.
Yeah.
Understand what it is that you're believing in, and then just connect the dots and see where it goes for you. Right. So that's all we're trying to do here. Is we're trying to get people to critical think and be free thinkers and just not take things at face value. Because many people, it's a proven fact that whatever religion they're in, they were pretty much born into that religion, right? So they just kind of carry on. So if you take, like I said, a step back and assess it, you may come to some different conclusions, and that's all really what we're talking about here. Is just assessing things, and maybe you'll come up with a different idea or a different conclusion.
Amen.
Yeah, and the other thing in that too, and that because I've had people here from the Hopi Indians on the show. The as far back as we go in our ancestors, before us, and that, how did they learn their religions? It's easy. The elders taught the children taught their children, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, as we went down the line. When we go to any religion, the people who are teaching us have to go to school to learn their own religion, which they should have known anyway, to teach us. Now, when that happens, to me, that's a controlled environment. That's somebody being told that you have to learn this to be able to teach people this way.
Right, it's not organic.
Exactly. I am going to read the Bible and get anything I can for myself out of it. And I can discuss it with someone else, and who knows, maybe someone else has a different aspect of it or a different twist on the story. Hey, that's cool with me. But even as far as what I was saying with the Indians, we all respect and praise the same God. And I don't care what religion you are. It's a being that is bigger than us, a supreme being that we all respect and pray to.
And now look at what institutionalized religion does. It says, my God's better than your God.
Yeah, exactly. On that level.
Right.
Yeah, because let's face it. If you're I don't know, if you're Jewish, you're this. If you're Catholic, you're this. If you're Protestant, you're this. And Protestant there's a million divides in how many different sects of Protestant people that there actually are. And when you get into all these things, Mike, you're absolutely correct. It's like, hey, there's one God. Okay, so there's one God. Bingo. There he is.
It's created to divide. It's divisiveness, and it's to keep people at bay. It's Christians fighting Muslims, Muslims fighting Christians. It's all of this segregation and divisiveness that takes place, and that's what keeps people separated. That's what keeps their spirit separated. So as long as you have all this inner fighting going on, you got this hate going, and you have this fear going, and you have that whole dynamic going, you are not going to understand who you are as a being. You're just not going to be, because you are so mired down in the low frequency, low vibrating, dense existence, and you're just going to wallow in that. But the control mechanism, the matrix that's in place, that's where they want people. So they create and fabricate these types of things in our lives in which are divisive. And it's not just the church, by the way, right? It's political parties, it's races, blacks versus whites, and straights versus gays. If you take a look at it, everything is going back and forth. It's like watching a tennis game, watching the ball go back and forth. And nobody's really engaged in themselves. It's all this inner fighting and stuff like that. That stuff's got to end.
Yeah, but that's when it goes back to the government, because I call that my M&M theory. My M&M theory is when you put a bunch of M&Ms in a bowl, and sooner or later someone's going to eat you, no matter what you are.
Sometimes they'll put Skittles in there, and you don't know what you're eating.
That'll really screw you up. All right, now let's get to something really crazy. We got all kinds of things going on right now, and that with power. Free power, not enough power, solar power. We've got more power. It's coming out our ears at this point. But, with all the free power that there is out there, that these machines that have been in forever, meanwhile, we're trying to frack our planet and screw it up even worse than it is now. Plus, the water in it that we're drinking is going to be polluted because they're fracking and all the chemicals are going into the water, aquifers. Come on. What is going on? Mike, you touched it in your blog a couple of times because I saw it.
Yeah, well, they're destroying the planet. And they're destroying the planet for the purposes of ensuring that the economic model stays in place. Remember, it's a system of commerce. So what they have to do is they have to continue to have the commerce engine working. So they'll continue to do things like frack, push GMO foods down people's throats, the aerosol spraying, the vaccines, the pharmaceuticals. All this stuff is done, Bob, to essentially pollute and contaminate the mind and the body. Because when your mind and body is contaminated, when it's polluted, what happens is your inner energy is working on trying to recreate and get you back into a state of homeostasis, get you back in balance. And so by continually having all this interference and all this noise contained within your mind-body, that's where you spend all your time and energy. That's why people feel fatigued, and they feel tired, and they feel depressed. So all this stuff is put out there in order to keep people from thriving, from having the type of existence that they were meant to have on this planet.
Yeah, but they invented them things a while ago. I mean, as far as I know, what is it? The Spirit of St. Louis had I guess it was like an electrical generator that ran all by itself, and that's the only reason why it made it from from our side of the America over to France. That's the only reason why it made that flight, because there was so much energy being poured into the motor that the motor didn't need all the gas to make it go.
Well, all we have to do is look at Tesla.
Yeah, well, that too. I mean, that was another part of that same theory. These are people who were and had, we could have had free energy a long time ago, but it's the same people that are controlling us that don't allow us to, and now they're putting in, what are those things called? Smart meters?
Yeah, smart meters.
Yeah, they're supposed to radiate your wire in your house.
It's all the EMF. That is, again, that's another one of those things that is contaminating the mind-body. The human body resonates at the Schumann resonance of 7.83 hertz, and so when you have all the Wi-Fi and you have smart meters and you have all this stuff, it's just interference. And this is why people are having a difficult time. This is why they don't feel grounded. This is why they feel out of balance. This is why they feel sick, fatigued, depressed, why they have aches and pains, why they have all kinds of stuff.
And take more drugs.
And take more drugs. Exactly right.
More drugs. I mean, that's it. So it keeps them in business too. While they're just a part of it. Jamie,
Yes, sir.
What? Now we're talking about dumbing down here and that, but let's go on a different level here. If you're reading energy, the energy of the person then is being actually invaded by all these crazy machines. Mm-hmm. So therefore, you're not going to read the same energy as the person really is because it's been sapped out of them by something else.
Well, actually, to a certain extent, I agree with that. But when I do a psychic reading, all I'm doing is tapping into their soul print. Our souls are like fingerprints, so I call it a soul print. But within that, it does not matter the outer chatter and all that kind of stuff. It's the inner realization of the calmness of the mind. And I think that a little bit of that kind of ties into these natural laws, exactly what you're talking about, Bob. And that is the water and the wind and the electricity and all this stuff. If Moses was aware of it, he could have been using it back then. However, within this capacity, all of these things have always been a potential. It's can you recognize it? Can you work with it? And any natural law is never selective of itself, meaning it does not question who uses it, how you use it, what kind of person, if you're happy, if you're sad, if you're a murderer, if you're a healer, if you're love, if you're what. It does not question. Tell me anyone can't flip on that switch. So then it becomes, how do you want to use this? How would you like to integrate that natural law? And ignorance is no excuse. Even if you're not aware of it, you're working with it, kind of like gravity. Oh, really? You don't know about it? That's okay. You're living it. It is so much a part of us. It's now getting us the opportunity we're giving ourselves to go within, and all of these natural things and all of these electronic things are only but digital extensions of our soul's ability. But we need to take it on the physical to go, ooh, I can see it, I can touch it, I can feel it, now it's real. The biggest thing is trusting what you cannot necessarily feel or touch, which is basically your soul.
Oh, so we're in trouble.
Not at all. No, it's that thing that even my point is when I'm reading for someone, no matter what all the stuff is that's flying around in the air, we're able to tap in beyond that murkiness and go straight for the clarity of the soul vibration. And not only that, because we're all truly interconnected, I always use the analogy that each one of us is like a droplet in the ocean. The big guy is the ocean, we're the droplet. Well, the ocean is the droplet is the ocean, has the full potential of manifestation of the entire ocean, and most of us don't recognize it. There is no ocean. Oh, does that work for you? Good for you, that's perfect. As many worlds as there are perceivers. That's the point. We're each needing to come back into our own recognition, our own recalibration to go, okay, you know what? I realize, well, at least for me, I don't know anything, man, but I'm ready for this new integration. I'm ready to start sharing with these new people. So as we empower ourselves and rediscover ourselves and find ourselves within life, not lose ourselves to it, then you start bringing more people in of the same frequency. You're not going to be talking to them or connected with them if you're not on the same channel.
We've got some other stuff that was on here, Annette. And by the way, and I just wanted to tell. Let me see. We got Dee on here. We got Tara on here. We got a whole bunch of people on here. All of you people, Annette, that are on the chat box, Annette, pick up your little fingers. You know, that's the middle one.
I think that's been going on, isn't it?
Yeah. If you really want to find out what we're talking about, and we're not feeding you some lunch on the side. Dial that telephone number, 843-606-1314, and I'll let Jamie show you what he's talking about. We are real people that he can read from the inside out.
As everyone can. That's just the dynamic. Not only that, that interconnectedness, that co-creative process is, I have a lot of clients that will ask me, well, what do you think about my boss or my spouse or whoever it is? I'll have to
Oh, yeah, I got one for you.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead, boss.
Is that Diane?
He's pointing at me. I don't understand.
No, the other boss. Get a hold of Boyd Stroud, and get a hold of him for a second, and just see what you're seeing through him. Now, here's a guy that did exactly what you said the first time you spoke to him that he was going to do. You said that he was going to wind up going to law school. Where is he right now? Law school. And that was a year ago.
Beautiful. Excellent. And thanks for the validation. But I always say, if I'm good, you're great. All I'm doing is reading your energy of potentiality. Nothing's done did till it's done did. All I see is the trajectory of the direction that you're heading. Oh, okay. Well, if you stay on this path at this speed, here's most likely where you're going to end up. Do you like it or do you not? I just am, you do anything 48 years, you get decent at something. I've just learned that I recognize and get the information through my soul communication. Because I always say words are great, but words are the language of the mind. Feelings are the language of the soul. One feeling is worth 1,000 words and then some. So it's a much more effective communicative aspect. So you can pray in any language and it's heard. It's not only heard, it's felt. That is the emotional connection. That is the intent. So it doesn't matter, because if I said, put my hand on, you'd be like, what does that mean? And, well, it means unconditional love and light to you. You'd be like, oh, okay.
And by the way, we also have WBAD Radio in Washington, D.C. is on the line, and they're listening to us, too, up there. And, of course, all of Washington, D.C., and that is up there going, oh, no, they're talking about us.
Woohoo! Hey, Boyd, as I was tapping into your energy, and, I'm not always right, but I'm usually pretty good, is there, because I know you're doing the law thing, but you've got two different facets in your energy field. So I don't know if you're looking at two different dynamics to integrate, like, as I graduate and here I'm going to do these, but there's something about, I don't know if it's real estate or investments, but there's a vibrational pattern of, it was weird, but it just dropped into my big head. So I'm like, I don't know, it doesn't have to be the direction that you're going, but if you haven't been thinking about investing in something or a land deal or a house or whatever this is, for some reason it's really strong with you. Not only that, I do feel like with this dynamic and your new direction, you're going to be way ahead of the game because you've got that spiritual awareness as well that you can really put into the new perspective. But in addition, because I know you're doing this, but maybe down the road, don't be surprised if you're asked to speak in front of other people. It's not just the court. Not too easy, no cheesy validations. This is like, Boyd, I think you really have a great way of presenting information, and I've got a group or an organization, and, if you would be interested, we would love to have you come and share with us. But there's a dynamic of multifacets to your lawyership. It might be one in the beginning. Watch. It's going to be kind of offered to you in a very positive way. Now, just because it's offered does not mean you have to choose it. I'm just going to go, hey, Boyd, I love you. Just a road sign. Do you like it or do you not? Yeah. Trust it.
Cool. Well, I've been telling everybody I've been leaving it kind of wide open because, we're definitely trying to make the radio thing, work, and then there's the law aspect, and I've just left the law thing kind of wide open, I kind of carry me where it carries me.
Perfect. And I think that that's a huge contributing factor. And again, like I do, the more we know we don't know anything. However, sometimes, just sometimes, a lot of us will do this. And whatever's supposed to be will be. And I'm like, oh, shoot. You might be a little pissed because if you don't give the universal flow, the natural laws that are always on, a very mechanical force as opposed to the creative love and energy of the big guy, that is, if you don't give it something to go into, it's just going to keep on flowing.
Right.
And then you become, the observer. And there really, truly is no just the observer. By observing, you're truly experiencing. So it's kind of a moot point, kind of taken out of that. But your ability is getting stronger. And not only that, Boyd, but you're, don't be surprised if, when you get established and you're doing your thing, that you're going to maybe mentor a couple of people. Not just talk to them. You're going to mentor a few people.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
I don't mind that at all.
Perfect. Because that's what's going to come into you.
That could be somebody who does mentor is exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you would be. You'd be very good. And your voice has a very, very effective, very nourishing vibrational tone. That's a really good thing because, people not only just hear what you say, but it's the way and it's the tone. Because if I talk like, you'd be like, oh, hey, oh, oh.
Lord, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right. You got to get that vibrational pattern enough to where it's, ooh, you know what? I don't always understand what you're saying, but that voice print is really nice because within your voice print, you are intertwining all of the information that you're wanting to speak within that stream of consciousness. Right. And even if it's not understood in all the levels, it is felt. That's why sometimes people will go, I don't understand it, but I feel it, bypasses that analytical mind and goes straight for a soul connection because you can talk yourself in or out of anything. You will never fool yourself. You will live with that decision. So trust what you feel.
Amen.
Jamie,
All right.
You're forgetting something, though, Jamie.
Ah.
He's got to be as old as me to get all those things.
Well, I don't know as he could ever be as... No, I'm kidding. Dinosaur, ba-da-ding-ding, hey! Yeah, congratulations, Boyd, because there's going to be some other... I'm telling you, don't be surprised, 2014, somebody's going to be like, hey, Boyd, I've got this really great, deal, this opportunity, but it's something about an investment. So you don't have to choose it, but like, a land thing or an investment in some other business, there's an investing energy for you. So it'll be kind of a validation from the inside out. Oh, well, you started to invest more time, energy, and attention to yourself in the direction that you're heading. So now you're picking up the signals of other people. Now you're getting on the frequencies of other people that are of like-mindedness for the most part. So that's a good thing. That's why I'm saying treat your attention, your focused thought, like a precious commodity, because wherever you go focus it on, the energy is going to flow to it, and it will give you that which you do or do not want.
Man, I'm focusing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, everybody that's out there that's listening to this show and right now, what you just heard, 8 o'clock tomorrow night, Monday nights, you're going to hear Jamie Clark has got a show on Pyramid One Network. Ha! How about that? You want to get a reading just like that? You call in on the phone. You want to talk to Jamie? You call in on the phone. You want to talk on the phone? Call in the phone. Doesn't that make it nice and easy?
God, I love it, man. And it's all about empowerment.
Yes.
Man, we just have to find that ignition switch for us. Flip that baby on and let that light shine.
Yeah,
that's what gets the attention.
Now, Mike, we just heard this now from a psychic section, okay? Now, what are we going to learn? Where are we going to put ourselves in perspective to where we're living right now through a past life regression experience?
Well, with the past lives, the client understands the bigger picture. So in other words, they'll come in, they'll have certain dilemmas or challenges in their life, and they're just trying to understand, where they're at, who they are, what are they supposed to be doing in this life. And that's because, they're kind of looking at themselves, at the immediate mind-body experience. They're not going into expanded consciousness. They're not really understanding their spirituality or that they have that connectedness to their spirit. So when they have a past life, they have a very keen sense now as they go through that session that they are much larger. They are much bigger than they perceived themselves before they had that session. So an entire world or aperture opens up for them. They understand there's a higher calling. They have a better grasp on their spirituality, on the divine. It helps them to unravel their fears and their challenges, knowing their soul's purpose, embracing their life purpose, and seeing the divine in all life. So it's really an eye-opener for a lot of folks. It's a game changer for some. Everybody has a different period of growth or expectation afterwards. It really depends upon how much they embrace that session, they embrace the experience. So to the degree that they really embrace it and they really start to understand it and dig in and do their inner work, they will see substantial changes in their life. They will start to see major shifts take place. And it's a big piece of my business that I do, past lives and between lives and spiritual hypnosis. And I love it. It's the most fulfilling piece because I see clients come in one way and I see them leave empowered. I see them leave my office uplifted with a new sense of purpose. And it's a very, very powerful thing. And I love the work.
They have this feeling, they probably have this feeling that like, hey, now I know. They're opened up. Now they are ready for all those energies and all those downloads and all those other things now, because now all of the weight that was on their shoulders is lifted. Because now they know how they got there. Jamie.
Yeah, Mike, have your clients given feedback, or have you been able to keep connected to see where their realization of the fullness of their soul, the eternality of life experience, that they've just really flourished? Is there a consistent pattern there? Is there a tremendous varying? Is there an overall aspect? What do you see from a lot of your clients with the realization of the fullness of their, past lives?
It depends. Some clients, Jamie, they come in, they have a very good session, you don't hear from them again. And then you have those clients that have their sessions and they keep in touch. So I'll speak to those that obviously they keep in touch. And it runs the gamut. Some of them have smaller shifts, but they're still happy because they're finding themselves in a better place. They have a different perspective, a more positive perspective, looking at life from a more positive lens. And then I've had those clients which have had substantial shifts in their lives. So the way I look at it is any shift, small, big, or something in between that moves you in the right direction, that moves you in a direction of better embracing your life purpose is a good thing. Some clients have huge shifts and others lesser shifts, but either way, as long as it's positive, it's a good thing.
Who's on the phone right now?
Hey, Mike, you have 3 books in your energy field, so if you haven't written any, you've got 3. 2 are similar, 1's different.
Oh, okay. I'm going to have to squeeze out some time.
Yeah. Good luck on that one. But watch. It's very effective. You're going to do very well.
You were like 2 seconds net to go get them, so go ahead.
Yeah.
You know what's going to happen. Let me tell you a little bit what's going to happen with Mike and I. All right? We've already discussed on the show, and that everybody was telling me I had to go and be tied up so I could go into past life regression with him.
Hello?
Tara! The Tara.
Yeah, Tara.
That I can see you all over the chat box right now, too. Who would you like to direct your question to?
To Jamie.
Jamie.
Yo, yo, yo. Hey, Tara. Nice to meet you. I love your name.
Hey.
What's up? How can we be of assistance?
I'm just kind of curious if you get pick up anything for me.
Yeah, instantly. I just feel like, kind of general, but I feel like the past year has been a lot of rediscovery of yourself, reconnecting with some of the people who might have, disconnected in some way and coming back in a slightly new way. But not only that, there's a real ignition of your spirituality. Your light has gotten brighter. We're 99% light beings, so it's all, pure love and light. But within that, there's also some new ideas. I get 2 or 3 maybe directions or opportunities or things that maybe you're thinking about of attaining in 2014. And I do feel like if you don't have your own business, that's fine, but don't be surprised if somebody in 2014 comes to you. There'll be a familiarity. Someone will know you, or they know of you, or they've worked with you before. But within that, they might just go, Tara, I've got this really great product or service or, whatever it'll be, and if you're interested, I would love to work with you. That would be great. Hey, have you moved in the past year, or have you been thinking about moving?
Yeah, I'm thinking about moving.
Okay, because it's in your energy field where I can...
business or being a part of a shop, a healing shop.
Oh, perfect, great. Yeah, whatever that is. It's got more spiritual energy to it, and when you get the fullness of your soul and it starts to express through others, they will feel that information through those words. Not just what you're saying, but what you're feeling. That's huge. And also just a little bit, Tara, just a little bit, even though I know everyone's amazing around you, I pick up at least 2 people, whether it's a familyship, friendship, worship, relationship, but I get a slight slice in your energy field. To me, when I get that, most of the time that translates into, if in the past 3 to 6 months, 6 months at the very most, it could have been this morning that you've done it. Otherwise, it is coming up for you within the next 6 months or sooner that you might have to be doing this. Here's where I am. Here's where you are. We can agree to disagree. Or, boop, you've cut something off as a friendship, relationship, or whatever. So if you haven't, great. No big thing. Just be open for it, because it will be an effective aspect to put even more parameters to go, man, see, you're doing it, Terry. You're going in the right direction. And exactly like Mike is saying, you know what, if you can go in a direction that every day gets a little better, maybe a little more happiness, you're doing great. Keep going. That's the beauty of it. I don't know why I keep getting you on and off and on and off with a book, but are you even thinking about writing a book?
No, I'm not writing a book, but I understand what you're getting at.
Okay, good, because I don't. So great. As long as you get that, I just get on and off, on and off, and on and off. Do you know anyone by the name of Donald?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know why that touches my mind, but if you haven't had some kind of an interaction with this Donald person, I don't know, there's a fairly consistent vibration of integration there. So otherwise it's coming up for you that there's going to be an even stronger connection. Okay. And I don't know where I need to go. If I get something, I give it. If not, I'm not going to make it up. Hopefully that's able to assist you. And I think that the big realization is when someone who doesn't know you but can feel you and maybe be fairly accurate with information, that gives you a little more basically knowledge that you are always being felt. The universe feels you. So anyone using their abilities can feel those vibrational patterns and pick up pieces of information. That's huge. Okay. I just go, hey, look, if I'm good, you're great, Tara. I'm not going to make stuff up. If I get it, here it is. If not, I don't know. Keep going. But that's the point. You're going to know.
We're all reflections of ourselves, right?
Huge. Yes, ma'am. I agree. Different faces of who we are, which is the big guy. That's exactly right. You need to get working on this store thing because it's got a lot of opportunity, and you're going to get some people who want to do presentations, seminars, and that kind of thing. So get moving on it.
So, Tara.
Oh, thank you very much,
Jamie.
You very much. I really appreciate your time.
You're welcome, sweetheart.
Hey, the show is here for you.
Well, we're here for each other, right?
There you go.
Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it.
Bye. Now, Mike, I'm going to give you this choice. I have 2 topics that I want to bring up, and both of them can kill you.
So you pick me?
Yeah. I want to know.
Thanks, Bob.
I want to know how I'm going to go. Now, there is one topic that takes care of war, terror, unemployment, shootings, foreclosures, and Armageddon. Now, on the other hand, or on the other side of that, there's also, number 2, GMO foods, fluoride, chemtrails, vaccines, and pharmaceuticals. Which one do you want to pick on before the end of the show?
Okay, well, this is the happy part of the show, I guess.
I'm telling you, when I saw those 2 things, I'm saying, where am I going with this? Now I sound like Jimmy. Well, I see a split in your energy.
That's because you're just like me. That's the point. I tell you, Bob, you've read for people, man. You're a lot more effective than you think. So always stay humble. That's beautiful.
Hal, I saw that. I saw it coming,
Actually, Bob, both are related. And so I could kind of just wrap them up into one, I guess, topic of discussion. What they're all about is, again, it's to basically keep you oppressed and keep you shackled. By controlling you. And they control us through many, various ways. One is through the mind. So you have the passive mind control that takes place, and that's why I mentioned before, if you're paying a lot of attention to the mainstream media, you're going to get a lot of war and terror and unemployment, shootings and foreclosures and talk of pandemics, bird flu, swine flu, Armageddon, all that stuff. And if you engage in that, you're going to get sucked right into that black hole. And that's that low vibrating, dense energy existence that I was talking about before, that Jamie was speaking about also. So that's one aspect of how they keep people controlled, and that's the fear piece of it. But then there's the other aspect of it that where they need to also control you from a biological perspective, to keep you tired, to keep you fatigued, to keep you apathetic. So this is why we're seeing GMO foods, and which, by the way, are creating all kinds of new allergens. And it's no coincidence that with the advent of GMO foods over the last 2 decades or so, we're seeing all of the old prescription allergy medicine is now over the counter.
Yes.
Right?
It is.
So, right, and you have fluoride. Fluoride is a toxin. Fluoride lowers IQ. There's much research that's been done to prove that. You won't see it out of this country, but you'll see it coming out of Europe and out of China. You got the aerosol spraying program, AKA the chemtrails, and you have vaccines loaded up with mercury as a preservative and all kinds of other interesting stuff. And the pharmaceuticals. And the pharmaceutical industry is, they're essentially to keep people on some level of dependency to medications and to keep people sedated. So, all of this is a contamination I was talking about before of the mind and the body to keep you out of balance. And when you're out of balance, instead of your energy spending time in creative ways and expanding out, it's working feverishly to try to get your body back in balance, that homeostasis I was talking about before. So there is, for folks who don't believe this and they think it's all conspiracy theory, when you connect all the dots and you see everything that's going on, it's a massive apparatus which is spending its time intentionally to try to suppress the human spirit. And I'll leave it at that.
You know what I was going to say, that when you brought up the fluoride, you got to realize that, what is it now, three generations back have been on fluoride?
They started fluorification, I think, back in the 1940s.
And all those people that have been doing fluoride for all that time, it's been in our bodies for all that time. It is poison, but that's okay. It's in our bodies all that time. And yet the government turns around and says, no, you can't take that out of water.
Right.
Well,
that's right.
Why? Like all of a sudden we find out, okay, something's wrong. How easy is it to deplug?
It's very easy. They just turn the tanks off. I have folks that argue with me about fluoride. They think it's all like conspiracy stuff. And I say to them, well, why don't you eat sunscreen? Make it your new salad dressing, right? And if you eat it and consume it, the theory, if you put the same theory of fluoride behind that, you can go outside and run around the beach for hours on end. You'll never get a sunburn, right? And then they look at you and then they start to assess it. And like, I just never put it into that perspective. But it's a toxin.
And then I think I sent you the article. I might have sent it to you too, Jamie. The thing about the aerosol spraying. There's all kinds of stuff in that stuff. I mean, if you look up, first of all, if anybody doesn't understand what I'm talking about and haven't seen it yet, then you're either been living under a rock or in the cave somewhere on the side of some mountain. And just move over, because I'm going to get right next to you pretty soon if this keeps up. But what we're actually seeing here with all this spraying is a multitude of different things that are added to that spray. One of them happens to be those little nano nets.
The nanoparticulates.
Yeah. Now, those things can go into your bloodstream, go into, attach themselves net all over your body, screw up your blood cells and the whole 9 yards. And when they're all done in that, somebody's going to turn around, touch a switch on a computer, and you're turned off. I mean, what's going on here? I mean, if people want to know whether you're being sprayed or not, look up in the air net. If you see lines in that don't go away, that are in the sky for a long time, or that cross each other like a checkers board or something, then you've been sprayed. Like, hello.
People are in denial, Bob, although more and more people are waking up, and the way you know that is because there's more and more articles now coming out in the mainstream media talking about the need to do climate remediation and geoengineering, in order to reflect the sun because of global warming and so on. And the reason why they're coming out with that is because more and more people are waking up, more and more people are looking up and saying, this is not normal. And so now what we're going to see is we're going to see a barrage of propaganda coming out of the mainstream media, whether it be on TV, internet sites, or radio shows, newspapers, and so on, trying to get people now put back in the box. And they're going to try to give them now some kind of logic or rationale as to why that's happening. But the thing is, it's been happening now for over 20 years.
Yeah, and nobody knew it until just lately.
That's because people are waking up now. There's an awakening. I know we've talked a lot about some very controversial topics here, but I also want to put this, a bright light on this and say that there is an awakening taking place. More and more people are waking up, and this is creating a lot of havoc for the puppet masters and those that want to control. Because as humanity wakes up, it makes it that much more difficult for them to implement their agenda. So that's the good thing. I am seeing it, even in the work that I'm doing in my practice. When people come in to see me for past lives and spiritual work, it's very, very clear to me that people are waking up.
I spoke to someone in Israel, I guess it was Wednesday, that he does biogeology. So he actually works with geology and bio, what it does with the body, back and forth, that between what us humans have to do with the earth, and back and forth. And it was really, really funny. I'm listening to this man, and I'm telling you, they got it together. Some of them do. He said you'd be very, very surprised. He goes to seminars all over the world, and he speaks at all kinds of places. And he said people don't get it. And I'm serious. I mean, these are guys that know what they're talking about. They're like, hey, all that stuff that is raining down on you goes into the ground. The ground feeds the plants. The plants you eat. Duh. I mean, is there something
Mike?
wrong here?
Yes.
Mike, do you think there's a potential with the nanos that some of those stray points can be activated and that they have receptors for many different frequencies or signals that can literally vibrate your body to a certain extent with fear or uncertainty or any of those dynamics? I'm sure that some of us have had an experience going, I don't know why I'm pissed, I'm just pissed, just whoong, and not having a conscious recognition of why that's happening. Do you think there's a potential of that?
I think there is a potential for that. I believe that, based upon my research, that there is a distinct potential that the spraying has something to do with DNA structure, and to be able to alter DNA structure. 95% of our DNA is what they refer to as junk DNA. Mainstream science calls it junk because they don't want to tell you that they really do know what the junk DNA is. Essentially, it's switches, on-off switches. And so some of the stuff that I've dug into in the rabbit hole can get very, very deep on this stuff. They have technology, they'll have it, or if they don't have it already, that will be able to flick switches, DNA switches, and be very precise about it. And it can create all kinds of different problems, illnesses, sickness, whatever it may be. Like I said, I don't want to alarm anybody, but if you do the research and you start going down the rabbit hole, you do start to uncover this stuff. And it's something I think people need to consider. So to answer your question, Jamie, I think it's very possible.
Cool. I think that's a big thing. If we can at least give them information to at least be aware of. Not that are worse, just different. And I think that's huge because we realize we're not trying to push this down anyone's throat. We're just speaking from our own life experience and what we've gone through and what we might be aware of to go, look, hey, just this. So here's more information while you're going down that rabbit hole so it sheds a little more light on it. So it doesn't have to feel so dark without that.
Right. I'm just speaking as Mike. I'm just relaying my experiences in my research. People can take from it whatever they want. If something doesn't resonate, that's fine also.
You are so well informed, Mike. I appreciate your insights. It's beautiful. Certainly I'm learning, man. Definitely.
Well, thank you, Jamie.
Mike, where can they find your blog that is called Sage of Quay?
Yeah, it's Sage of Quay, SAGEOFQUAY, sageofquay.com. And if you go there, it's a blog that my brother and I run. It started, I guess, about a year and a half ago, and it's really starting to get traction now. We were just kidding the other day. It's getting about 22,000 hits a month, so we're pretty happy with that. It's still a small blog, but considering where we started, we're pretty happy with its progress.
Yeah, and if anybody wants to see that blog and that he has, it's going to be on the back end of Pyramid One Network. It's going to be down the bottom of the thing, and that where you see like a whole bunch of like sponsors and all those kind of things. It's going to be on there. So we're going to put something on there so that everybody can get a look. I mean, what they talk about is what we're talking about right now, only they come out with, the actual person who said something, they put their article on there. And then they write their own articles on top of that. And this is really good stuff. I mean, I get mixed up in it at 4 o'clock in the morning, so hey. I must be crazy. I mean, Mike, you look at your emails. I mean, I wrote them to you at 5 o'clock.
I know. I see you get up early, Bob.
Yeah, I mean, it's like but hey, you got to start early and not to catch the the rabbit or whatever, But anyway, getting back to the last thing that I want to speak to it about on here, and that for both of you guys, both of you guys that are in fields, both separate of each other but the same. You both work with people's spirits, people's people's self-respect for themselves. Now, on Jamie's side, you tell people, and I hear you often, tell people that you are yourself, or in that line. The same thing with Mike. Mike, when you bring people back, and you're talking about people walking out the door and that doing the cha-cha on the way out the door. Yeah, I feel better. And I'm telling you right now, I mean, both of you guys don't realize that you are a major part of working or waking up and awakening anybody. Because anybody is right now not saying to themselves, oh, well, what am I going to do tomorrow? And you're already telling them, hey, you do what you want to do.
That's right. What I tell people, Bob, is seek truth.
Yeah.
Seek truth. It's like what Gandhi had said, even if I'm a minority of one, the truth is the truth. And that's what spirituality is about. Sometimes people ask me, what you do with the blog and all that stuff, is it compatible with spirituality? I said, absolutely. Spirituality is truth. Truth is spirituality.
Jamie?
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And I'm going to do some more research with you, Mike. I love your soul tracing, the past lives. I call it soul tracing because it's just that line thing of our lives. But I think that that's really, like is being said, empowering. When you can get people to understand maybe a little bit more where they come from, to incorporate the fullness of their soul now, they can pull from that, and instead of feeling the void of emptiness, they have the fulfillment of the soul recognition. And then to see them empower themselves and others to get into that bypasses a lot of the old lower frequencies and goes for the straight high frequency, energy. I kind of went off on a tangent there, but I'm very interested.
No, absolutely, Jamie. You're right on. Empowerment is beautiful.
And it's good. Ladies and gentlemen out there, this has been the Bob Charles Show, and these two gentlemen, Mike Williams and Jamie Clark, are two masters at what they do, and I hope you learned just a little bit. That's all, just a little bit. I'm not asking for the whole thing, but just a little bit. If you have any questions, you can always write in. I'm going to tell you in just a second. Jamie, Mike, thank you, gentlemen, for being on the show.
Thank you.
I want to remind everybody else in that, too, that Jamie will be on the show tomorrow night at 8 o'clock on the Bob Charles Show. You can just go to Pyramid One Network or to www.kinetichifi.com. Click on the spot on the show, or on the screen, actually, that says Pyramid One Network / Bob Charles Show, or go to www.pyramidonenetwork.com and just click below where it says Listen Now. Click on there, and you go right to our chat box, and you're there. Gentlemen, thank you very much. This has been an awesome, awesome time on the radio.
Thank you, Bob. Thanks, you, Jamie.
Bob. Thank you, Mike. Talk to you tomorrow, Bob.
All righty. Ladies and gentlemen, it's your fault this show was so good. You ought to